Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and today I'm sharing with you a very cute and seasonal home decor Easter egg project that I made with some rice papers by Craft O'Clock. And I used some other things that I already had in my stash, but look how cute these little eggs are. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look, you could see the rice papers. I added some glitter. Oh my goodness, I love this. And I did it like a combination of some glittery ones and then some matte finish ones. I wrapped some in some cellophane, added some little decorative things I had in my stash. Look at that. Just absolutely gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous. I added some little just decorative papers and some chipboard die cuts and just all, and there's the top. There's a look at the top, which I realized after the fact that you really don't see when the project is sitting open, but that's okay because I still had fun decorating it regardless. And you may display yours a little bit different if you choose to do this project. Now, these little wooden eggs, I got mine at Michael's, but I think you could get them anywhere. Now, this little sacks and things, those are like little egg crate things I had in my stash. Certainly, you could use a egg carton, just a plain old regular egg carton. I say you can get those wooden eggs anywhere, but like I said, I found mine at Michael's, and I think you can get them online at michaels.com. Now, these rice papers, these are by Craft O'Clock, and I will put links down below if you're interested in picking these up. I do have some in the Sandpaper Road shop. They're really, really unique papers, and this was my first time really working with rice papers. Now, these little wooden eggs, they're just wooden eggs. They're great. You could do all kinds of things with them, decoupage, whatever. Of course, if you don't have wooden eggs, you know what I was thinking about is if you had those plastic colored eggs, you might be able to get away with it if you had some gesso. And that's what I'm showing you here is I have some white gesso and some black gesso. And gesso is really just, if you're unfamiliar, it's just like a primer. If you don't have gesso, you could use some, that white, that paint that you can see in just, any type, that acrylic paint that comes like for 50 cents in the craft aisle. There's like 1,000 bottles of it in a million colors. That acrylic paint, you could get away with using some white acrylic paint and some black acrylic paint if you get the matte, not the glossy. So even though this black gesso looks like it's going on glossy, it dries matte, like in a matte finish. And I'm only doing half the egg, and then I'm actually using the egg carton as sort of a stand. And that way I can do half the egg, put it down, let the gesso dry, and then when it dries that half, then I can hold it on the other half and do the other half. So you can paint it any way you paint an egg, but that's just what I was doing. So it just made it a little bit less messy for me. But this was what I was thinking. If you had those plastic colored eggs that are pretty typical to, see in the stores around Easter time, I was thinking that maybe with a coat or two of gesso, you could still do this kind of crafty project because the rice papers really do a beautiful, beautiful job at transforming any surface, honestly. These rice papers, now we're going to save that cellophane for the end. Now, if you're unfamiliar, it's almost like a cross between like a homemade paper, if you've ever felt the consistency of like a homemade paper, and like, remember back in the day, remember mulberry paper? It kind of feels like that, but it also feels like a napkin in a way, but a thicker napkin. Now, I want to show you two different ways to deal with rice papers. You can cut it with scissors, or you could see I put some water in a little just cup, and using just a paintbrush and some water, and you can just sort of lightly paint water around your the design and then just pull it. And then you'll get that lovely little just torn looking edge, and it comes apart really, really easily, as you can see. And then it will dry, and so you can choose to, like I said, if you want to cut it like I did at first, or you can just paint water around it, around your design, and then tear it. And both of those techniques work just fine. It just depends on the look that you're going for, so I wanted to show you both ways to work with the rice paper. I think that looks really nice. And then when it dries, you don't even see the water, you know. So either way, the cutting or the tearing, it's all fine. I'm using some Mod Podge for my project, but really any wet liquid adhesive you have on hand, you know, like I showed the Elmer's glue. I use the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive for card making. So if whatever you have on hand is going to work just fine. Glue is glue. For this project, maybe not in all cases, but in this project, I really think it's going to be just fine. So just a nice thin coat there. And now I'm going to show you this, and then later I'll show you how to get rid of all these little wrinkles, okay? We're just going to take it step by step. Rice papers are a little unique. Now you can see I'm pulling and stretching, and it goes on pretty good. And then I just go over the edges again with a little bit more Mod Podge. It's a glue and a sealant, so it's perfect for decoupage. And there you have it. And then I lay it flat to dry. Now here's one that I cut instead of pulled apart. Now you can see there, I've got a few of those little wrinkles. It doesn't really bother me one bit, but I just want to show you in case you're a little paranoid about the wrinkles. You could use a sandpaper to get rid of it, you know, after the fact. But let me show you how it looks when you put down the scissor cut rice paper as opposed to the torn rice paper, just so you could see the difference. I'm just working it in. Now here's what I'm doing that I could have done on the other one, but I didn't because I just wanted to demonstrate. See how I just cut right there? I pushed down in the middle first, and then I use my scissors just to snip the edges that I could see will potentially wrinkle. And then once I snip those little edges, you don't over snip, but just a little bit, then they push down very, very easily. And I really can't tell you where to do it. You'll be able to see it as you're doing this project. And then a little bit of more Mod Podge around the edges just to make sure that it's sealed in real good. And there you have it. So both of the scissor cut and the torn end up looking just fine, but you can see that by snipping those little corners, those little bubbly edges, that's the thing that really helps it to lay down more nicely and avoid those wrinkles. Now for this one, I really just liked that pattern. I don't think I wanted to use the chess pieces for this project. I will save that for another project in terms of the rice paper, but I did like that little checker board pattern. So I'll use one of the black gesso eggs and a little Mod Podge there. Now you may be wondering why I used white gesso and black gesso, and really the reasoning is just because I wanted to give a variety of different looks. You know, these rice papers, you can essentially see through them, so I just wanted to give a little variety. And you can see I took the egg and pressed it into the palm of my hand, and here I go again with the scissors just snipping around those parts that I can see are going to create bubbles. And then when I went to fold them down, I thought to myself, well, let me just tear those off. That seems like a little bit much anyway. So that was just sort of an afterthought. But it did make it nice and easy to tear off the excess, and it came off just perfectly. And then I used some Mod Podge around the outside. Perfect for me. Yeah, so far so good. It's looking really nice. And you could do whatever you want. There's plenty of designs to choose from. You can use a little sandpaper to buff out some of those wrinkles if they bother you. I'll just show you here a little bit how that looks. You know, I have a sanding block too, which for me works a little bit better because it's just easier to hold. Yeah, it's really nice. Then let's see where we're at on the project. That looks good. I think we've got them all pretty much with rice paper covered as much as I wanted them to be covered. This next part, I feel like you might cringe a little bit, but it actually turned out exactly what I was thinking. Again, you can do your project however you want to do. Part of my demonstration is to show you what happens when you do it this way. So then you can be like, ooh, I don't want to do it that way. Or, ooh, that looks good. I want to do it that way. So a little bit of glitter in some little plastic trays. These little trays are actually from the packaging of the razors we buy. They make perfect little trays for crafts. So a little Mod Podge over top. And pop it right into the glitter tray and give it a little shake. And then we've got a nice glitter coating. Now, it looks like it covered it completely up, but remember in the beginning, we could see that through there. It just gave it a nice glittery finish. Now, I will have to say that if you just saw that and you were like, well, why did you do all that rice paper if you're just going to cover it up with glitter? Then maybe you don't want to use the glitter. Or you know what you could do instead? This is probably where you'll say that if that's your thought. And actually, I was thinking a little bit of the same thing. I thought, ooh, that glitter covered up a little bit more than I thought it was going to cover. I was a little surprised at the coverage of the glitter. I thought it was going to be a little bit more just, just sort of, I thought I was going to be able to see through it a little bit more than I did, but I guess it's really good glitter, so. So what I did is I was actually just trying to buff it out, not take it off, but just buff it out. And whatever came off in the process was fine with me. And then underneath, you could see that beautiful rice paper underneath as very mysterious. That's what I told myself. But you know what? As I continued the rest of the eggs, I thought, ooh, okay, I see what's about to happen. So if I don't want that look, I'm going to have to do it a little different. Good thing I had more than one egg. I guess I don't get too stressed out if something doesn't work out exactly the way I thought of it in my mind, because sometimes it's a beautiful little surprise. So then I thought, well, maybe if I combine these, that'll soften it up a bit. And that still is pretty good coverage. I do like the look of the glitter. I really like the look of the effect that it added and how you could see that rice paper through it. But I decided not to do all of my eggs with the glitter. So just those three. Now here's another piece of that rice paper with another design. And I thought, well, instead of trying to do something, I don't know, paint it or do something like that to my egg carton, I think I'll just put a piece of rice paper inside and give it just a little like a subtle design. So here's some more Mod Podge on the inside of the lid. And then I thought to myself, now how am I going to get this in there? So I just tore it in half and I just started to push it in there. I thought, well, I'll just get it in there then. It's thin enough to work with, but I think at this point I realized I should have sprayed it with some water or something, because it wasn't, I just needed it to move a little bit more than it was moving. So at this stage right here, as I was trying to push it into the corners and things like that, I probably could have sprayed it with some water. But then I was nervous because I thought, well, I don't want to mess up the egg crate, the egg container, by getting it all wet with a spray. So I thought, well, let me just dab the edges here that are being a little resistant. And that allowed me to tear some off, and I was happy I did it that way. It looks really good. I was really looking for this sort of this messy type, sort of a boho chic kind of a look for this project. You know, not something so like neat and pastel and perfect. I like that too, but for this project I just was really feeling a little bit more free, I guess, with my thoughts. And I love that rice paper. I love that. Look how that looks with that just subtle flower and then the subtle stripes. It looks really, really good. Now that Mod Podge again will dry. And then I thought, well, I don't want to just make it look like I coated the lid. So I'd like to have a little bit more of that same pattern, you know, to make it look like it's supposed to be that way. But so I used just some of the part that I had torn off and just sort of worked it into the edges. And it was really, the rice paper was really responding well. You know, it responds well to being torn and glued and, you know, dampened with water. So really, really pleased with the way that the paper was working for me. It does help to use this kind of an egg carton. So if you have, if you're going to use your own egg carton and, you know, cut it, try to find the kind that's that, like that dry kind of a, not corrugated, but that dry cardboardy type of an egg carton instead of the styrofoam type of egg carton. Because honestly, I think that that's part of why it was the rice paper was responding so well, because it had a lot to stick to. It was a nice matte surface. This Mod Podge was working really well too. You know, if you're using an Elmer's glue or, you know, like a card making adhesive, you probably could just add a little water to it and make it a little bit more pliable. Sometimes those are a little bit thicker, those liquid glues. So you can see I'm not trying to cover the entire thing, just the edges. And really using the paintbrush and the water cup as just a way to tear off the excess. I don't think I used my scissors at all, really, at this point. This project I did originally as part of the home decor creative team for Craft O'Clock. And if you'd like some more home decor type project ideas, if you like this kind of thing, you can check out their channel, their home decor Craft O'Clock channel. And I will put a link to that down in the description box. Lots of neat projects. Yeah, and this is really fun to do. I think I had, some music on or something and just, kind of just playing around. I did the same thing to the top there as I did on the inside. Put the rest of the rice paper there on the top. And then I had this piece that from one of the other rice papers. I thought it would just look beautiful just right there, kind of folding over the front. This one I just wanted to cut. I wanted to keep as much of that design intact as I could. So I was trying to be super, super careful. I found it's the back of my stylus tool that I was using just to push in there. So I suppose the thing that I like about these rice papers is that it allows you to be kind of as free, you can tear it, wet it, whatever, or as precise as you want for a variety of different projects. This was sort of my first attempt to, I guess, quote unquote, decoupage something before. That typically isn't my thing. Not for any reason. I just haven't done it before, and it was really, really fun. I was thinking of all kinds of different things. After doing this, I was looking around my house thinking, ooh, I could put rice paper on that. Ooh, I could put rice paper on that. And then I imagined my husband coming home and like all the stuff in our house just covered in rice paper. He'd be like, what is going on? So yeah, you could see it's pretty much the same technique, as long making sure that you cover those edges with a little bit more Mod Podge. When it dries clear. And by the way, when it dries clear, it doesn't dry sticky. It dries real nice. And the Mod Podge I have is the matte Mod Podge, not the glossy. I think that makes a difference too. I was a little glitter happy, had a little bit extra there in that tray, but I thought I'd just dump it on there, and whatever stuck on there, and that was good enough for me. Yeah, that was good enough for me. I really enjoyed that. Really nice. So before I move on here, I think I'm going to just sort of wipe up my little area. And these are some chipboard die cuts that I had. And these are also by Craft a Clock. I believe this is the Hello Beauty paper collection. Now I'm using some 3D matte gel, which is a very, very stiff, I call it a glue, but it's just a very, very stiff glue meant to hold things like metal and chipboard and cardboard, and just it meant for mixed media type projects. So I'm going to use that to adhere this chipboard die cut. Just beautiful designs, really just soft designs, but yeah, nice to work with. It's a pretty strong glue too. like I said, I've made canvases and stuff before where, you put like metal buttons and big heavy metal things on, and that's the adhesive I use for that. So honestly, I probably didn't need quite that. It wasn't like these chipboards are so heavy that I needed that, but I really just wanted it to stay. I wanted one of those clocks so bad on there, but I think I ended up with a smaller one. Just so many fun choices. And if you don't have these chipboards or whatever, maybe you have something in your own stash. Maybe you have some buttons. That would be really cute. Or maybe you have some dies that you haven't used in a long time. You could essentially make a quote unquote chipboard die cut using a cereal box. You cut out a die shape, and cut out a few of them. Then you can layer them on top of each other to create some dimension, and then make the final die some pattern paper you like and glue that on top. So there's some solutions. You can use your own stash of stuff to create a really, really nice project. Here I've got some flowers that are part of the collection. And what I'm doing is just putting the flowers down on a piece of foam. The foam is from packaging from something. It just came inside the packaging. Whoops. And I'm taking my little stylus there and just pushing the edges just to sort of lift them up. And then I'm turning the stylus over and using the back of it to give the flower a little bit of dimension. And that's pretty much it. And like I said before too, maybe you don't have these exact flowers. Maybe you have pattern paper that has flowers in it in your own stash, and you want to cut out a few flowers. For this, the heavier the better. So if your pattern paper is really, really thin, maybe you want to glue it onto some heavier cardstock and then try this technique where you kind of shape the flowers and the leaves and stuff. I would gather that you have plenty of things already on hand, and a pack of eggs in your refrigerator so that you could make something similar. I'm using a hot glue gun just because it's nice and quick, and because I like the dimension that it gives. I can work with it pretty quickly, tuck it inside. Some of these little flowers have little stems, and so I can tuck it inside there. It is funny though, because I spent some time here on the top of the egg crate, or egg carton. I keep saying crate. And then when the project sits open, you don't even see it. But, oh well. I think sometimes it's part of just the fun of making it, isn't it? And by the way, then when I close it up for the season, then I'll see it. So it's fine. Oh, I love those leaves. Aren't they nice? Look at that. That's fun. Yeah, there's something so satisfying in just putting that glue down and watching your bouquet of flowers come to life. Look at that. Oh, I love that. So cool. That is cool. Yeah, that looks nice. These little, I don't even know what they are. Just little, it almost looks like baby's breath, doesn't it? Yeah, I had that in my stash as well. So I'll just tuck a little piece in there like that. That is so nice. Look at that. See, even if it sat closed, it would look good. That's cool. Yeah, the inside I'm doing essentially the same thing. Look how cool that is when it dries. Look at that, how the rice paper looks. It looks so good. Yeah, that looks good. Now for our final touches, this is that white matte acrylic paint that I was telling you about earlier that you could use if you didn't have gesso. It literally was 50 cents at the Walmart. I'm not joking. So I always use it for just final touches when I think, ooh, it kind of needs something, or, oh, I don't know, it just needs something. Or if I all of a sudden I run out of gesso and I'm like, I need something. So it's good to have white and black acrylic paint on hand. So I'm adding some paint spatter because I wanted to. Just because I wanted to. I know some people do not like paint spatter in their projects. I do sometimes I don't. I'm using an acrylic block just because that's less for me to clean up, which really, if you see the mess I made, I don't see why I was trying to be neater because I made quite a mess anyway that I had to clean up. I did cover up, what is that, a piece of baby wipe or something, I did cover up that top part there. I didn't want to get paint spatter all over that. Yeah, sometimes I crack myself up. Like, what was the purpose? And then I got too much paint, black paint there, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just dab it off. It's all fine. It actually, my project turned out fine for me. I was happy with it. Maybe it got too much paint here. But, once I just kind of rub it out, it looks fine too. So, look at the mess I made. My surface is that a couple of those Ranger craft mats that I had from years ago, and they still work just fine. Yeah, I did that so bad, just making a whole mess on my whole surface, but yeah, it's fine. You know how it gets to be a point where you're messy already, and then you think, oh well. Yeah, that looks good. At this point, I think I just started to have some fun, and forgot about the camera. So my apologies. I think I went past tutorial mode. One of the reasons why I do the voiceover after the fact, because yeah, I really like it. I really like it. This is where I was like, okay, well, just never mind then. I'll just keep going. So then I thought, ooh, paint spatter inside. I used the acrylic block, like I said, just to minimize the mess. Of course, as you can tell, it didn't really, I made more of a mess anyway. And then I drag it off of there. Sometimes that makes it easier, sometimes not. Sometimes I get carried away, sometimes not. It's all fine. It's all just expression. Sometimes I clean it off before I add the black, sometimes not. There's such a sense of freedom in just making something you want. I showed my family this project when it was done, and they were like, what do you do with it? And I thought to myself, well, I did a lot to make that, and that's fine for me. And what do you do with it? You look at it and you say, good job, Mom. Yeah, that looks good for me. I like it. I like that I started with the rice paper as the base. It really just adds something, if you haven't done mixed media before, the art of mixed media is a lot of layering, a lot. And you don't really worry so much about, oh, you can't see this anymore. It's more of, look at the texture and the look that I created by doing this layering. It's it's really unique. Fun for me. It's really fun for me and unique. Just adding a little bit around the edge so you can see where that edge is at. There. That looks nice. So artistic looking. I think that's why I went ahead with the paint and all that, because I added that little tag in there that says art. So to me, that's what it looked like to me. Now here's that clear plastic that the rice paper came in. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to wrap like 2 of the eggs in like a clear plastic and have it sticking up like a gift basket type of a look. So I'm just cutting it to create these little, I guess I just didn't know how to do it. So I just cut it enough so that I would have enough to use. I have some craft wire, and I actually picked 2 of the eggs that I thought, I think they were my first ones that I did with the glitter, and they were kind of surprising to me, so I put those inside the cellophane. And snipped off the top there just to make it lay a little bit nicer. Wrapped some wire around it. And I think that wire is by Stampin' Up, because I've got it in a bunch of different colors. I wanted to curl it, and so I just found that I've been using that stylus all day. So that's just what I used, wrapped it around there, pulled it out, and it shaped the wire just like I wanted. That looks good. I really need to trim some of that cellophane down because we don't need it to reach to the sky. Yeah, and that looks good. Now you'll notice that I have 5 eggs. I did not make 6 eggs. And that might bother some people, but I only wanted to make 5. I don't know why. I just wanted to have an odd number. So doing this again on one of the other eggs. I didn't want to have just one wrapped in the plastic, because sometimes when you do that, it looks like, did you forget one? Or it looks like, did you mean to do that? But if you do it one other time, then it looks intentional. So just trimming this down so it looks the way I want. And that's about it. Yeah. Use that cellophane there. Looks very nice. The arrangement is going to matter. And here I have some extras to cut from the Spring Bustling paper collection. That's by Craft O'Clock. That is a fun collection. These little bunnies. Oh my goodness. Now this one I will put a link also. The rice papers and this collection I'll put a link in the description box because they are available at the Sandpaper Road shop if you're interested. I adore these bunnies. Just adore these bunnies. You do have to hand cut them out. They come in a big 12 by 12 sheet and you have to hand cut out these bunnies. So if you did not know that, I thought I'd share that with you. But it doesn't take very long. You could do it in front of the TV or, or whatever. Now I'm just giving these bunnies a little bit of something to sit on. So, because I want them to kind of stick out of parts of the project. It reminds me of when you dye eggs. And they always come, the egg dye kit often comes with like little paper embellishments that you can put the eggs in. Like rest the eggs in these little paper holder things. And so I thought, well, I just want to have some little paper bunnies sticking out of the back of some of these eggs. Nothing, I'm not gluing them in. I'm gluing the paper to a little paper holder, but I'm just sliding it behind the egg. Because I thought to myself, how am I ever going to close this container when the season's over. So I don't want to have all this stuff glued in there that would prevent me from closing the egg crate at the egg container at the end of the season. So you have to think beyond just the moment, I guess. Really super fun. Yeah, I've had this project in my mind for probably about a year or two, but the rice papers are fairly new. So I think that's probably why I put it off, because I wasn't quite sure how to get the look I wanted. And then when the rice papers came out, I was like, oh, that's how I'm going to get that look. And then it was really easy to do. Look how nice that looks. Oh, I just love it. I just love it. It's beautiful. Yeah, just beautiful. And you can embellish that any way you want. Of course, you don't have to add so much paint spatter and so much just, I'm going to call it chaos. It looks beautiful to me, but I know some crafters just like things a little bit more neat and organized looking. I suppose art is an expression of how you feel. So I feel creative chaos. It's not a mess. It's just, to me, it looks beautiful. A little piece of wire there on the side. I'll show you some close-ups here at the end of the video. And I did cut right there the video because I was embellishing like crazy, looking for a specific flower brad that took me like 10 minutes to find. Yeah, that little tiny brad was the one I wanted. That looks so good. I love it. I love those little paper pieces. I love the little bunnies. I love the glitter. The rice papers are just absolutely fantastic. I love the little egg carton, the cellophane, all that, the paint spatter, the chipboard die cuts. It's just so nice. And every time I see it, I have it sitting out on my table, and every time I see it, it makes me so happy. Here's a little bow that comes with the little cutouts, that Spring Bustling collection. Look at that. Just a last good final touch right there. I love it. Oh my goodness, I love it. I'll show you a final look here with some close-up shots. And thanks so much for watching with me today. You can check the description box for product details. And thanks so much for subscribing to Sandpaper Road. So much appreciate all of you. And we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.